This talk covers the story of the Normans in southern Italy and Sicily from the year 1017, when the Normans arrived as mercenaries, to roughly 200 years later, when this area was absorbed by Frederick II Stupor into the Holy Roman Empire. This slide is about pre-Norman Sicily in Roman times. The picture here is from the villa of Piazza Marina in Sicily. This picture shows the Emperor Maximinus Herculius, who was one of the 4 tetrarchs. The tetrarchy was set up by Diocletian, and he gave to Maximinus Herculius the site for a villa in Sicily. This villa dates to the late 3rd century AD. Sicily always had been a very prosperous part of the Roman Empire. The end of the Roman Empire, and Sicily was taken over by the Ostrogoths from the Vandals in 491 AD, but it was recovered by the Byzantine Emperor Justinian, who effectively restored Roman rule. This happened in 535 AD. The Byzantines remained in control of this area for over a century. Indeed, the Emperor Constans II liked Sicily so much that he shifted his capital from Constantinople to Syracuse in Sicily between the years 663 and 668 AD. The Arabs eventually came to this part of the world in 827 at the invitation of a Byzantine rebel, Euthemius. He had eloped with a local nun, and he wanted the Arabs' help. They then took over not only Sicily, but also southern Italy. The Arabs were driven out of southern Italy by the Byzantines and the Lombards, but not out of Sicily. The villa of Maximinus Herculius was occupied by the Arabs until the 10th century AD. Then nature intervened, and much of the villa was covered by an enormous landslide, maybe caused by an earthquake and bad weather. This is a picture of a map showing how Italy was divided up between various peoples. The Byzantine Empire had quite a lot of southern Italy. The Principality of Salerno was controlled by the Lombards, and Sicily, as I mentioned previously, was controlled by the Lombards. The Normans who came to Britain in 1066 were cousins of the Normans who carved out a kingdom for themselves in southern Italy and Sicily. The reason why the Normans came to southern Italy was at the invitation of the Lombards. The Normans in the 11th century had made a reputation for themselves as excellent mercenaries and were considered some of the best knights in the whole of Europe. This manuscript picture shows the typical dress of the Norman knights, their equipment with the conical helmet, the kite-shaped shield and so on, and decent swords, plus their skilled use of archers made them very feared and formidable foes. The Lombards invited them under their leader Rainulf in 1017 to Avessa in southern Italy. This was given to the Normans and they established a base here. This was the foothold which they wanted so badly. The Battle of Civitate in southern Italy was one of the defining moments of the Norman arrival in southern Italy. For a number of years after their arrival at Aversa in 1030, they gradually strengthened their position and brought in more soldiers from Normandy to the extent that they came a power in their own right. Too late did the Lombards realize their mistake. They made an alliance with the Pope to eliminate the Normans. However, Pope Leo IX's forces were defeated by Tancred de Hauteville in 1053. One of the people who took part in this battle, along with Tancred, was Robert Guiscard, who we will come across at a later point in time. After that period, after this battle, the papacy then decided it might be a good idea to make an alliance with the Normans. These two sculptures come from two places associated with the Normans. By 1071, they had driven out the Byzantines for the most part and had established a number of ports on the east coast of southern Sicily, including Trani and Bari. The sculpture on the left comes from Bari. Bari became quite a pilgrim centre because the Normans got the relics of St. Nicholas, alias Santa Claus. They're still there to this day, and I've seen them for myself. The other cathedral is that of Trani, less well known, but nevertheless much worth a visit. The man who was responsible for gaining effective control over Puglia, Calabria, Basilicata and Sicily was Robert Guiscard, who was the son of Tancred de Hauteville. Pope Nicholas III gave him control over these areas, but he had to fight hard to secure this control from both the Byzantines and the Lombards. This picture shows the castle of Rosetto, which was one of the early Norman castles in southern Italy. This is a follis, which is the first Norman coin issued in southern Italy. It's based on a Byzantine design. Robert Guiscard realized the need to have proper coinage, so this was the result. Doesn't look much to look at, but nor indeed were the Byzantine coins either. This picture is a view of the Bay of Salerno and the cathedral built by the Normans. The Normans came here in the latter part of the 11th century, around about the late 1060s, summoned by the local Duke Gamer to fight off the Saracens, i.e. the Arabs from Sicily. They liked Salerno that much, they decided instead not only to defeat the Saracens but take over from the Lombards. From 1068-1071, the Normans besieged Bari, the centre of Byzantine control in southern Italy. It was a hard-fought battle because the Byzantines could supply Bari by sea. Anyway, eventually the Normans took it, and that effectively ended Byzantine control of southern Italy. Bari was always the centre of contention. Right up until the 16th century, you can see on this picture the fortifications built by the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V in the 1520s. On the left, you can see the Norman church. But we're still concerned with the Normans. The papacy tried to take this area in 1128. Pope Honorius, his papal armies attacked the place, but they were really unsuccessful. And that was really the last time that the papacy tried to oust the Normans from southern Italy. This is a picture of two places, Brindisi at the top, Trani at the bottom. Brindisi was a place in 1081 when Robert Guiscard launched an expedition to support a rebel against Alexius I of the Byzantine Empire. The reason for this was that Robert Guiscard's daughter was married to the pretender. Her name was Helena. The second slide is of Trani. This was not Guiscard's favourite place. There was a conspiracy led by Peter of Trani against Robert Guiscard. It almost succeeded. This happened in 1072. It was also there that Robert Guiscard almost died of a fever. He survived this fever for another 14 years. Not everywhere fell quickly under Norman control. Southern Italy, for example, the very wealthy port of Amalfi didn't fall into Norman hands until the time of Roger II of southern Italy and Sicily in 1127. The cathedral here is much visited. You see here some quite nice Norman style painting on the left and a general view of the cathedral, which is reached by a set of steps. One of the reasons why the Normans were so successful was their ability to make good use of the cavalry they had. the Byzantines weren't quite so skilled in this direction. It was this that was so important, and indeed Byzantines later hired Normans to fight for them. The Normans had to command the seas in order to invade Sicily, which they did successfully. They learnt the skills about this from the Arabs. They also tried to hold on to parts of North Africa, which they conquered, but they were forced to retreat from there in 1128. The maps at the end of this presentation show a bit about the campaigns that the Normans undertook to consolidate their control over southern Italy. The next part of this talk will be about the Normans in Sicily.